self-isolating. It's her exam week, so I had to go and get some exam papers. And I was doing fine until I came back into Knutsford, and then the traffic was a nightmare. I thought about starting a Teams meeting at the wheel, but that would have been irresponsible.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for your patience. Right, we can get cracking. Moses, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Good to see you. You haven't changed a bit. What the hell?
Hey, yeah, neither of you. Right, looking cool. So we've got some Sheffield input here. That's great. Right. We'll just wait a couple more minutes in case anyone else is going to arrive, and then we'll get cracking. And thank you very much for doing this at short notice. It's a long story again, but I'm a pretty short notice person, as most of you know. Right. I'm just going to find out a few slides that I'm going to talk about, and then I'll share my screen.
Steve, do you want to make that announcement so I can duck out?
Oh yes, I'll make the announcement. Sorry, yeah. So so the recording started. Yeah, so formally, the university just wanted to make it clear that this is not an official alumni event organised by the Department of Alumni Relations Office, DARO. It's just an informal social event. So they wanted me to make that clear. Okay.
Thank you.
Right, fantastic. Thanks, Joe. Right, where are we? Okay. Well, that's not going to work, is it? Okay, bear with me a minute. So yeah, and students, feel free to put your cameras on, because it's quite an informal event, and it's good practice to put your camera on, just because that's the way things are going to be probably from now on. When you're working as engineers in industry, a lot of stuff's going to be done remotely, so understanding kind of just getting used to having your camera on. I think in a lecture you don't need to, but here, because we're a small group, it'd be great to see some student faces as well.
Well, I look like Cruella de Vil at the minute, and I've still got the camera on. So.
You look fine, unless if anyone's got their pajamas on, let's see your pajama top. Let's see it. Let's tell it like it is. Right. It'll take me a couple of minutes to get this presentation. Okay.
So Joe's just joined us.
Ah, great. Joe Tomino.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So Joe, do you want to do your talk? You said you could only do 2:40. But if you can talk.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've got a meeting. At work at 2 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. So you could do your little spiel now.
Yeah, would you like me to? Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll forget my welcome introduction, and we'll crack. In fact, while you're talking, I'll find it. So basically, yeah, I can introduce you. I'll give you a warm up. You'll turn your camera on, Joe. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Steve. I'm just in the middle of a car. So you're really quiet. I'm trying to turn the volume. I'm not too sure if it's your end or mine.
Right. We can hear you perfectly, but we're a bit quiet for you, are we?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've sorted it. No, I've sorted it. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Like, you don't have to turn your camera on then. Whatever's safe, Joseph.
Okay, yeah, it's fine.
Right. So.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, we can see you now. Good to see you. Okay, so I'll introduce those of you that don't know him. Some of you do. Joe's a graduate of. He was in the first class, weren't you? The first cohort of chemical engineering.
Yeah.
At Chester. So graduated a few years ago. He's working up at. Is it Sellafield?
Sellafield. Yeah. Starting there in September.
Right. Over to you.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Hi guys. As Steve said, I was part of the first cohort, if you like. I've got a job in Sellafield starting in September this year as a nuclear safety case engineer. What I liked about Chester Uni in particular was that a couple of reasons really. The first thing is that you're not just a number. I have a lot of friends who went to sort of bigger universities who I think because of the size of the university as well, just sort of disappeared. And if you needed that support from any lecturers, you could just obviously drop Steve an email or any of the other lecturers. Also, another big benefit of obviously studying with Chester Uni was the fact that engineering companies were actually on site. So, for example, I did a placement in my first year, did one in my second year, and did one in my 4th year with a company called Core Additive Technologies, which I done alongside my masters. And I think doing them 3 placements really helped me get the job in Sellafield in particular, because, you know, as you're probably aware, the competition for places is so fierce. And I think the fact that when I was asked a lot of questions in terms of competency questions and that sort of stuff, I think the fact that I could relate it back to engineering placements that I've obviously done, give me that sort of added value, if you like, over the other candidates. And I think that's obviously what stands you out, really. For example, the core additive technology placements, I'd finish a lecture at 12 o'clock and I'd walk over to the other side and start working for them for the whole of the afternoon. So give you like the best of both worlds, really, and obviously provide you with connections into the industry as well.
That's brilliant. And
yeah, in terms of advice for students going forward, I know people say it's a numbers game. It is a numbers game, obviously, but I feel like you've just got to make sure that you have your competency-based questions locked down. I did do a lot of assessment centres and a lot of sort of practice beforehand. So as long as you go into something prepared, obviously do your background on the company and that sort of stuff, and make sure you use engineering examples. I think that's probably the overriding thing that I'd sort of discovered as much as you can, really.
Okay, that's brilliant. And what was the most useless thing we taught you?
Wasn't much of that. Probably the hacker that we got taught by Ken Rivers.
Oh yeah, he might be here. Oh no, he's not. That was useful.
That was useful, to be fair. Yeah, not useful for engineering, but useful for life.
It scared the heck out of everyone, didn't it? We had a guy that did the hacker. He's Ken Rivers. He's the past president of the ICME. He's the immediate past president. Yeah, he's president last year, and he used to run the oil refinery. And he was talking about process safety, wasn't he? And he lived in New Zealand for a while, so he did the hacker. It scared the people on the front row. I remember that.
Yeah, I think I was on the front row as well, so it was it was a bit of a shock initially, but no, it was good. It was a very engaging lecture, to say the least.
That's brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Joe. Really appreciate it. So yeah,
No worries.
Sign off whenever you need to, and yeah.
Before you go, Joe, can I update you on what you built for us in your project with Core?
Oh yeah, please, yeah, definitely.
So that's you were the first one through, obviously, as our part of our first cohort. We worked on that for another couple of years, and then Core actually got funding to turn what you basically developed. It was tweaked, obviously, a bit since, into a real thing that they can take out onto sites and actually use in the field. So yeah, it all developed really well over the next year or two.
That's not bad then, is it? Yeah, it seems to be time well spent.
Fantastic, because that placement, or your final year project, you spent a lot of time making it all work, didn't you? And you had less time to actually write the report up. So
yeah, but a lot of R&D.
Yeah.
But no, project, and Lee, obviously at Base the Core, was a good mentor as well. He helped me sort of find connections in the industry, even postgraduates as well. So that's obviously another benefit really from it.
That's brilliant. Fantastic. Right, thanks very much, Joe.
No worries.
And so you started work, Joe. Sorry, final thing. You started work now?
Yeah, so I'm currently working for sort of like a sales company, but I will obviously be leaving them in September to move across to Sellafield, and then I'll move up to Cumbria end of September now.
Brilliant. Cumbria is nice.
Yeah, I've been up there a couple of times, to be fair, and yeah, it's a nice part of the world, I think. A bit quieter than Liverpool, but
yeah,
nonetheless, good.
You'll be able to liven it up a bit.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right, excellent. Okay, so actually, I'm still trying to find my presentation, which is good. I just can't find it. So could we go on to you, Reese, for the next bit of spiel? You've got some slides, haven't you? So you'll need to share your screen.
Yeah, I can do that. I don't know if it's going to be, the opening slide's going to be slightly inappropriate now because no one's drinking. Bear with us a second.
No, it's fine. I'm drinking, don't worry.
Well, the opening slide was the photo from second year awards night, where we went on a wine sweep and we took it all home with us.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so, and then our little Chem Eng cohort, or at least a significant amount of us on that awards night. So I'll actually go on to what I was going to talk about now instead of embarrassing myself.
Well, you got an award, so that's good to mention.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll go back to it then. Yeah, so that was during the Chem Eng undergraduate degree. I think at the end of second year, I got an award from SCI, the Society of Chemical Industry, for highest scored student in Chem Eng in Chester University. So it was for the Northwest, so there was other universities like Bangor and stuff there, but it was a really good night. We all got dressed up, as you can see from the photos, and it was a bit blurry towards the end, but it was a really good night. And that was in Chester Town Hall, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
something to look forward to if you revise hard for your exams. But what I was going to talk about mainly is what I've done since the chemical engineering degree. So I went on to do a PhD at the University of Chester, which is looking at the establishment of a hydrogen network in the Northwest. So what I wanted to do is just share some of the things that I've been able to do whilst doing the PhD. So I got invited to do a TED Talk at the university, which I was incredibly nervous for. I think I'd been doing the PhD for a couple of months when they asked and said you need to stand up in front of 100 people, which was very nerve-wracking. That photo on the right there, that was at a hydrogen showcase event a couple of years ago. So that bike there is actually powering an electrolyzer to produce hydrogen. And towards the right of us, where he's been cut off now, but there was a professor where the hydrogen that was produced, he was burning through a flame. I don't know what he was burning it with. It might have been sodium or magnesium, just to show that a hydrogen flame was safe. So that was a really kind of good public demonstration of hydrogen. The bottom image there is me being interviewed at this event, and I featured on BBC Northwest News. So that was interesting, and again, very nerve-wracking. And then the other two photos here are kind of more from an academic perspective. So last year I published my first article. It was a review article in Sustainable Energy Technologies and Assessments Journal. And a few weeks ago, my supervisor sent us a message saying, look at the most downloaded list. And the article was there, the second one down. So I was extremely happy about that. And then this week, I've been able to submit a manuscript for a second research article. So hopefully you should hear back from that sometime soon. And the middle one here is the university has every year an annual postgraduate research symposium, where you can either do an oral presentation or you can, or they've got some time allocated at dinner time for a poster competition. So that's us there. One of Steve's former PhD students now, due to Cities Viva soon, and another PhD student from the University of Chester, David, who has just submitted his thesis as well. So yeah, there's all sorts of things that you get involved with as a PhD student. When in my first year, I went to an international conference all the way in Germany. We also managed to secure some funding from UK CCSRC. So they're a research centre looking at carbon capture and storage. So we secured some funding from them, and we were able to host a workshop at Thornton Science Park and kind of invited policymakers, people from industry, and really talking about what some of the challenges were in terms of hydrogen and CCS. So it's been a very exciting 2 and a bit years so far, and now it's getting to the very important part of typing up. And I know, Steve, you asked me to say what the most useful things were from chemical engineering. So I think, in my opinion, the most useful thing for me would be dimensional analysis, because I think it's absolutely fundamental to every single equation that you do. I know when I was doing that review article, I was comparing a few technologies against each other, hydrogen technologies, and you'll be surprised how many are in different units. So trying to make sense of that and get them into kind of one universal unit so you can provide like an accurate comparison is incredibly difficult, and would not be able to do it without dimensional analysis.
Brilliant. Any advice for
Yeah, 2 seconds, I'll just stop sharing.
Awesome.
There we go. So any advice for, I would say for PhDs, make sure you do your research before your interview. Make sure you've got a kind of good little mini literature review of what your PhD topic's about, what it could look like. Luckily, I was in a position where I didn't know when the interview was going to be. I thought it might be July time, and it wasn't until September. So I had plenty of time to research and look into it. But make sure you're definitely passionate about the subject before you think about doing it, because 3 years is a long time.
Yeah, but it's worth it.
Yes, yeah.
Brilliant. Right, fantastic. So, thanks so much for that, Reese. So what have we got on the agenda next? I still can't find my slides. I think I'm zooming in on them, but we'll keep going. Who wants to talk next? On the agenda, I think we had Ariana, but she might not be. Ariana, are you here? No. So Moses, do you want to do your bit now? Because you you work for the coolest company here, I reckon.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Is it? It's cool. It gets a lot of attention.
As well, you're looking the coolest. You work for the coolest company. just yeah, inspire us. Come on, let's hear what you're doing.
Well, first of all, I have to say, like, I'm nowhere near the academic achievements of Reese. Like, I was really sort of like an average student, and so I think it's very interesting, like, that if you really focus on like the research and academia and really focus on that, you can get a lot of exposure, like very public, and you can get a lot of engagement from the public, and that can get you to like really cool places like you did, Reese, which is amazing. I took the sort of like other approach, which was sort of, I'm gonna talk a little bit about myself. So I come from Mexico. I studied chemical engineering in Mexico. I was fed up because at the end of my career, of my undergrad, I worked as a process engineer in a chemical company, BASF. It's, I think, one of the largest chemical companies, and I was working in a acrylonitrile butadiene styrene plant. They were making copolymers to do bumpers for the Volkswagen Polo. And they were also doing the CD cases, like, I don't know, like, you guys are probably pretty young to understand, but like there were CDs and we like closed them in some like clear polystyrene cases that was called the general purpose polystyrene. So yeah, the market of the oil prices was pretty bad. And unfortunately, it came up to 160 euros, $160 per barrel at some point in June 2008. And so I said, like, enough. Let's find out a way to work on something renewable. My boss back then was German, so he said, like, hey, you're a good student. Why don't you just apply for a PhD? And I met with Professor Allen, which is now, I think he retired, from Sheffield, Steve. Anyway, so he was working on really cool nuclear and solar hydrogen production with thermochemical cycles. I can show you some slides there. And that's, I think, one of the coolest stages of my life, because Sheffield is incredible. I don't mean to speak bad about Chester. I've never been there, but I don't regret a single day doing a PhD. It's like the hardest headache you'll ever have in your life, and 100% respect to all the persons that engage themselves for 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 years on a PhD, breaking your brains thinking about solving issues. But it's the coolest thing. I also helped Steve here doing some undergrad tutorials. That was pretty fun. Like I said, I wasn't the best student assistant, but it was fun. So I'm going to identify my audience, and I think you guys, the guys in the call, are some of you like undergrads looking to start their careers in the real world. And so all I can say is sort of resonate what Reese said. Make sure you do your research. I tend to recruit also a lot of people, people mainly from procurement, but also I've been in some engineering posts for Tesla. And you have to be authentic. And you have to also, this is something very funny. When I hear the advice, yeah, just be yourself, it's sort of like 50-50, because you can't really be yourself in an interview. You have to be very professional, but you also need to be acting according to the philosophy of the company. So for example, if I arrive to Tesla with a tie or a bow tie and a shirt and like like polished shoes, they're not gonna get me, because this what the hell is this guy doing? If I go to Amazon or I wear a tie, they're gonna go, what the hell? Or if I come like this and I have a interview at the Deutsche Bank, I'm not even gonna be in the interview. They're gonna go, what the hell is this guy doing? So identify the cultural context in which you are at. Languages are very important. That has given me quite a bit of an edge against other candidates. Professor Allen, which was my tutor, and Rachel Elder from Sheffield, they sort of, with their networking, got me a job at the German Aerospace Center after my PhD. And I didn't know German, and I speak it pretty okay. So right now, I mean, I've been 7 years here. And enough about me. I just want to show you what do I do in Tesla? Why am I a chemical engineer with a PhD and I'm working for procurement? It's very simple, because I'm a master in Excel. That's the best thing I learned in Sheffield. So you polish your data analysis skills. You use Mathematica, you use plenty of analytics stuff. And then you make sure that all those numbers are chewed up and then sent for the management, so the management, these guys, they can only read and write. So you just simplify. They got to make decisions based on simple numbers. What's cheaper? What's fastest? What's the lowest risk? So from a risk assessment perspective, being a chemical engineer has really helped me, sort of grow in my career. So like I said, I did a postdoc in the German Aerospace Center. That was like solar production with hydrogen and concentrated solar power. Then I moved to procurement for a cable company. So we were exporting cables all over the place for the solar industry. So we sort of like stayed there. And I've been 1 year in Tesla already. It's pretty great. I met Elon last Monday. He was here in Berlin. He moves a lot. He's really tall. He's sort of like he's like built like a rugby player, but he engages a lot in numbers. He's really knowledgeable. So he knows how much a column of concrete weighs. What are the the Young modulus for a certain material? Like, he knows everything because he spends all his time with engineers. So if you're confidently wrong, you'll be fired. So you just make sure you don't bullshit Elon. And I think that applies universally to all the bosses you'll ever have in your life. Just be honest. I don't know. I'll find out in a couple of hours or in a couple of weeks. But I think the whole being able to bullshit other people in the world is reducing very quickly, because the amount of knowledgeable people that come out of universities is growing, and the information access for everyone is sort of like very available. Sorry, I'm just jumping like in between topics. I just want to show you what we've achieved so far. Like I said, I'm the main buyer for the Gigafactory, so I buy everything. So if you want the first project that I had at the Gigafactory in Berlin was toilets. And I was like, oh, Mr. Doctor from Mexico here. And the first day that I that I was working at the Giga, my boss said like, hey, Moy, we have a problem with the toilets. Can you fix it? There was this contract that we needed to sort out. So just be humble. Don't think if you have like, oh, the University of Sheffield undergrad, I'll be like, like calling the shots and taking names. Just start humble. Be really polite, be really professional. You have to have fun at work. So that's also really important. I wanted to share my screen and show you the sort of, that was in 2020 in January. That was in spring. That was in October, November. And this is the current status. So what am I in charge with? Asphalt, topsoil removal, columns, inspections, containers, tents, consulting, a lot of stuff. So I'll just write my email, and if you want to apply for Tesla, it would help if you speak a little bit of German, but I'm just also recruiting here, Steve, so it wasn't for free, So that's the north part. So the factory is divided in different shops. So the entire cars and the entire parts are built here or in the region. So it's sort of like a microchip. We have the stamping part here. We have the paint shop. We have body in white, which is basically the raw chassis, and general assembly, which is over here, right here, which is like where everything's assembled. And the drive unit, which is the motor, the electronics, and the transmission, is built here. So we have a very complicated underground conveying system. And yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm not allowed to say no confidential information here, but yeah, it's pretty fun. We're working here in these containers. We have now offices around here, and yeah, we achieved it in 9 months. We also are doing pretty good. We have 1 million pre-orders of the Cybertruck. In Berlin, we're doing the Model Y because it's sort of like the regional best model we can get in Europe. And if you want to take a look at the progress of the factory, I would just look for Tesla Giga Berlin. And yeah, just like I said, my main advice for you is just be humble. Don't expect to earn 100K a year on the beginning. Like, that's never happening. You sort of grow like slowly, and yeah, be available. Just say yes. Hey, Moy, I have some work for you. Yeah, no problem. We'll just do it and figure it out how to manage your workload. Because at the end of the day, everybody has loads of workload. But the successful people are the ones that are not working hard like donkeys, but sort of like working smart, So build a network of colleagues, build a reputation of being a doer, and also make sure that you have a social network within the company so that you can help out and just delegate and also cooperate. I think that would be my contribution.
That's great. Fantastic. So there's jobs going with Tesla for chemical engineers.
Yeah. We have, for example, paint specialists that deal with electrophoresis, and then also quality engineers that need to know about GCs or chromatographs or HPLCs, etc., etc. You have some colorimetry colleagues. So chemical engineers can pretty much do anything they want. So
that's my quote. Yeah. My quote is chemical engineers can do anything, including chemical engineering. That's my quote. But hey, Moses, that's brilliant. I'll send you my CV. I might be needing a job soon, so
happy days, man.
Be kind to me. Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's fantastic. Any questions from the students? You can use the chat if you want. But yeah, we'll crack on then. So Next on the list, we have Ariana. Thanks for joining us, because I know you're on a tight schedule today.
Hi, thank you.
Just to introduce you quickly, Ariana's another graduate from Sheffield, where I previously was, and she's doing exciting stuff in Canada. So I'll hand over to you, Ariana. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I'll tell you a bit more about myself. So I graduated in 2014 from Sheffield University in chemical engineering. By the time I graduated, I had done 2 industrial placements. So I did 1 year work experience at Sellafield, so nuclear industry. And I then followed that with a summer internship at Shell in Aberdeen. When I graduated, I ended up working for Shell in Amsterdam. I worked for Shell for 6.5 years. I did a number of roles there, anything from design to operation support. I traveled quite a bit within that role, troubleshooting all sorts of sites, first in gas, and then I moved to the largest oil refinery in Europe, in Rotterdam, where I worked for about 2.5 years. And then I moved to Canada after meeting my husband, who happened to be Canadian. So I moved to Canada, first to Alberta, where I was working in the oil sands upgrader. And recently in January, I decided to change, and now I've been working for 5 years for Vale, a Brazilian mining company, top 5 mining company here in Toronto. So I've changed quite a bit of industry. I've looked a very different type of roles, and like the previous person was saying, a chemical engineer can do a lot of things, and they're not all traditional chemical engineering as you'd imagine coming out of university. And I think that's following what Steve suggested that we said, one of the useful things I learned from university was I learned what I liked and I learned what I didn't like. So for example, I have to admit early on, I knew that I was not going to be a person working in an engineering design firm. That was not for me. I didn't like detailed design. That doesn't mean that I didn't gain design experience. Within Shell, 2 of my roles were design, and I learned a lot from them. It gave me a very solid engineering base that I could then use for troubleshooting. And what I learned as well at university was that the team working part, a lot of the projects that you do, working in teams, collaborating, that is what companies are looking for. They are not looking for individuals that work in their own little bubble and forget about the world. You need to be able to talk to people and to collaborate with people. Some of the maybe not so useful things, perhaps, I mean, there's a whole bunch of equations that I memorized, especially in my second year. I'll be honest, once you get into industry, unless you're going to be one of those specialists, right, that are developing the part that's behind the software, you're mostly using software that's going to help you with simulations. However, you do need some sort of understanding of what's going on, because if you put bad input in, you're going to get crap out and the results mean nothing. And if you can't interpret that, then it's useless. And that's part of why we learn it, even though I wouldn't say I use them. Some of the tips for getting hired or getting your job, I mean, I have to say I feel like I've been quite successful in getting jobs in the companies that I wanted, but I've also spent a lot of time sending CV after CV, even especially when I did this last change of jobs. I even reapplied for entry-level jobs, right? Which I didn't get after 6.5 years with what you could argue is a top 2 oil and gas company in the world. I couldn't get entry-level jobs. So what I would say is the company can tell your level of interest in your application. And the jobs that I have gotten are those that I researched like there was no tomorrow. Like I knew their websites inside out. I could probably tell the interviewer more things about the company than they would know. And that shows when you're applying. So that I think that's my biggest tip. And don't give up. Sometimes you might get a job that's maybe not 100% what you were looking for, but you will learn a lot from it. So even within my previous company, within Shell, when I moved jobs there, I took the lateral move to the refinery, which I was not thrilled about, because it was actually a lot of detailed engineering, a lot of calculations, hydraulic calculations, flow into pipes, pumps, and all that sort of detail thing that I wasn't looking forward to. And it turned out to be one of the best jobs for learning a lot of process safety on sites, and just the basics that actually then got me the job that I did want. So, everything is a learning opportunity. That's what I would say. And yeah, I'm open for any questions if.
Any questions? Yeah, I think yeah, a couple of tips I've got is, one is yeah, if you get a bit similar to what you were saying, yeah, if you get told to do something by your boss or something, or you get into something you don't like, just make it look like it was all part of a big plan. Like when you do your CV,
Yeah.
you did something that you hated, but you make it look like it was your idea and it was all part of a big plan.
And at the very beginning, you're sometimes going to have to do some things that you're not super thrilled about, but eventually you do get to pick and choose what you prefer. Some other things that have been interesting in my career till now is you might need to be open to learning languages. So, I mean, in the Netherlands, in my first job, it was all in English. However, I had to support sites in the Middle East, in Norway, and I had to review documentation in Norwegian. I didn't learn Norwegian, but Google Translate really helped. And when I went to Norway, I went there with a phrase book, and the interaction that you get with the operators just by knowing like words like good, bad, and thank you, it just shows that you're willing to go that extra step. And then when I moved to the refinery, I had no option but to learn Dutch, because operators are talking in their local language. And now in my current role with a mining company, I do a lot of improvement projects with Brazil. Within 4 months, I'm speaking Portuguese. So I think when you're looking for a job, make sure you highlight every single skill you have. If it's languages, it's languages. If it's public speaking, sell yourself in every possible aspect and look for those transferable skills. Every job, no matter how little it was, you probably learned something that you can apply to a different opportunity. So I would say try to showcase those.
Fantastic. That's brilliant, Ariana. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you. And
Yeah.
if anyone wants to ask me anything else, you can reach me out on LinkedIn. So
yeah, LinkedIn.
Thank you very much.
LinkedIn's the way to get hold of people nowadays, isn't it? Especially now where we're doing everything remotely. That's great, sure. Ariana. Nice to see you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So, who do we have next on the list? It was going to be Lars, I think.
Yeah.
Boy, girl.
Sure, I can do it as well. Yeah, I don't have a good structure set up here, but I can probably start a bit.
Can I introduce you? I'll introduce you quickly, just as a Chester graduate. So Lars is a little bit different to a normal Chester graduate. He's done. He was working for the Norwegian oil company before he came, but he's one of those guys. He just wants to keep learning, and he wanted a nice holiday from your job as well, didn't you? I guess. So
yeah.
Chester. And then, having done that, he got the bug for learning, so he went to do a master's degree in, is it Delft?
Yeah, in Delft, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, over to you, Lars. Thanks.
Yeah, sure. So you touched a bit upon my background there. So yeah, I'm from Norway. I used to work as a process technician on an oil platform before I started my bachelor's. I did start my bachelor's at the age of 25, so I was a bit older than the rest of the class, I think. But yeah, I had a lot of fun at Chester, and did get to experience a lot of the academic work, and also a bit of the English pub life and all of that stuff. So I was very happy about
You're a
that.
big drinker, Lars, aren't you? Yeah.
Hmm?
You're a big drinker. You know that.
Yeah.
You and Reese
Massive.
together.
No, yeah, but me and Reese had a couple of pints up during the years. Yeah, so I did my bachelor's in Chester, and then I ended up doing a master's in Delft, in outside of Rotterdam, in the Netherlands. So yeah, and then I started working back for the company again in Norway. So the company is Equinor, largest oil company in Norway, and I work as a production engineer there. When it comes to advice about stuff to pay attention to in class, it's a bit about what Reese was talking about. So she was talking about dimensional analysis and stuff like that. So I would highlight that probably a lot of the tough math stuff, it's important to maybe not remember the equations, but understand how to do the maths, because that's you're probably never going to learn that in work, in industry. So that's something that you need to kind of get at university, and then if you have that solid mathematical base, then you can build upon that in your career, and you actually see quite often that if you don't have that a rigorous mathematical background, if you can't do the maths, then you know, you get stuck with other tasks that you know, aren't that exciting, because yeah, maybe you don't know, you know, how to run the program, so you can't as Ariana was talking about, you don't know like how the modeling works, or how to set up your model properly, because of a lot of times it actually requires a fair understanding of the maths, and knowing what the maths of your simulator or is doing. So I would just highlight that is probably something that you can should take advantage of, and then, you know, don't remember the equations, but remember how to do the maths instead. Yeah, and then when you get into your career, it was pointed out earlier, companies aren't looking for, you don't need to be the biggest maths whiz, you know, like, but you need to be able to, it's way more important that you know how to behave socially, that you know how to interact with people, that you know, you can make friends with your colleagues and stuff like that, because in the end, for a company, it's they are really aware of trying to hire people that are going to work well within the teams. And then yeah, as Mais was saying, that it's not just chemical engineering careers that you can go into. A lot of the people that I've studied with, they do other stuff now, but it means that you have this quite rigorous both Excel and mathematical background. You can probably do some programming, and that's also something that I would highlight, like learn how to do your programming and learn how to do your MATLAB stuff, and that's a really valuable skill to have when you get into work. And I use it from time to time as well. Like I write my own MATLAB codes. I write my own other codes, like in Excel VBA, for instance. It's good to have some knowledge in that. And yeah, so yeah, a lot of people end up in different careers. So some do supply chain is a very typical one I see, but also a lot of like the support stuff. Yeah, so that's that was what I had. I don't know if you have any questions. So
you need to mention the code that you're going to come up with to water your plants while you're on holiday.
What?
The code you were going to come up with before to water your plants while you were on holiday.
Oh yeah. I was that never materialized, but I was trying to make a Raspberry Pi water my plants in Chester. Yeah, I never got that far though that I got it working, so it's nothing that I can boast about. But yeah, it is quite a useful skill, and yeah, just to be able to whip up a short like, because a lot of the time you're going to be working with data and analyzing data, and if you then are able to write a couple of scripts or stuff like that, then it makes the whole process a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely.
I just wanted to say something that resonates a lot with what Lars said. It's like you have to get your hands dirty, and that means like on the data skills and like on, you know, like writing emails to people, but also like engaging with them and making sure that they also do their work, but you are also leading by example. So you also need to do that stuff. When you say something, you have to talk the talk, you walk the walk, you know?
And yeah, and as Ariana was saying earlier as well, like language skills, for instance, that's really important. It's really important to be able to pick it up, especially if you're going to work towards a different country. So both for her case and for my case, right, working in Norway and the Netherlands are probably the best cases that you're going to get into, where you have people speaking fairly good English. But a lot of the time, you might end up having to communicate with operators in different languages. And even though everybody speaks English in Norway and everybody speaks English in the Netherlands, and Germany is getting there as well now, you're going to get a lot better interaction if you're willing to actually learn the local language. And yeah, because operators are going to be operators.
Where's the best place to learn the local language?
In the pub.
In the pub, exactly. Spot on. And if you don't drink, you don't have to drink, obviously. Not everyone drinks, but you just have to try a bit harder if you don't drink. Fantastic. Right, is that everybody? I think that's everybody. We were going to have Q&A, but I mean, we've kept it quite informal, haven't we? Anybody got any comments? Let's have one student saying one thing once. Austin, you're not normally shy. If double A is Austin. Callum. Oh no, Cameron. Cameron, you're not normally shy.
Yeah, I might pipe up then.
Yeah, brilliant. Put your camera on as well, unless you're in your, well, even if you are in your pajamas.
Let's get it up. Hold on. Here we go. Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah, it's quite scary hearing like sort of the postgraduates talking about jobs like this. I'm just about to enter the master's year, and I don't really know what I want to do yet. I haven't really got like a favorite thing. I kind of enjoy everything we're doing, so it's scary to be thinking about a future and how to build a career and where to start and how it starts and where to go. But it's quite inspiring hearing you all talk about it, because you all like seem to obviously be doing really well now.
You'll be fine, man. You'll be fine. Just just draft a little bit of a plan, just a rough plan, because if you don't do that, then you become someone else's plan. You start sort of like, I mean, you're never gonna get like what you 100% want, but it's the possibilities of getting what you want are better if you have a plan. Just finish your master's first, man.
Yeah.
Where's the best place to get ideas for a plan?
The pub.
In the pub. Exactly. Brilliant. Yeah. So Cameron can contact you then, Moses, about working for Tesla potentially.
100%. 100%. We have about 40 Americans. They don't speak like zilch of German. We have 6 Mexicans. Their German is very limited. Norwegians. You guys speak actually like a lot of languages. People from the Netherlands. All my bosses are from the Netherlands because the procurement part is like based there. But they're like, we're trying to centralize everything. So yeah, just Cameron, I think it wouldn't hurt to learn some languages. But yeah, and yeah, finish the masters and go to the pub to get ideas.
Yeah, and at least in my day, the University of Chester were doing language classes as well in the evening times. So highly recommended. I did the German once.
I'm gonna say something that may sound a little bit presumptuous, but I think language is the expression of intelligence to a certain extent, you know? And so when you learn a new language, you feel really, really frustrated, and it's directly proportional to the intelligence that you have, because my first weeks in German, I was like, hey, hello, how are you? How was your day? Oh, fine, thank you. See you later. You know, and it's, you want to speak about tons of stuff, you know, and so it's challenging, but then you see like the reward. It's like a cold shower. Like you hate it, but then like if it's a habit, then it becomes like really healthy for you.
Do you speak German? What is it? Do you speak German?
I speak German pretty well. I don't write it fantastically, but there's no communication issues. I used to date a Turkish girl back in my Sheffield days, so I speak a little bit of Turkish. That's also fine. And yeah, that's about it.
So there's
Spanish
some
and English.
Turkish guys working in Germany for Tesla.
A lot, man. Because there's a huge population from Turkish with immigration background since the 60s, actually. And so
those guys, good engineers, aren't they? There's some good engineers there.
Absolutely hardworking. These guys, like most of them are in casting for some reason because they like hot stuff and melting aluminium. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But pretty fun.
Brilliant. Any more questions from anyone? Bilal, you've got a question, I reckon, or a comment? Maybe. He's gone. He's gone to get a coffee.
He's typing.
Oh, sorry. Who was speaking then?
Oh, it was just me. I was saying he's typing in the chat.
Oh, is he? Ah, okay. Well, that's fine then. Chat's good.
But Steve, can you tell us a bit about how it's going now with online classes and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I guess it must be terrible trying to get a school running or a uni running.
We've learned a lot. I mean, I think the whole world's changed, isn't it? Everyone's used to this now. My dad's 90 years old. He had his 90th birthday in February, and he suddenly got it. He hates Zoom and everything because he goes to church, but he had to do it on Zoom, and he hates it. And then in February, he had his 90th birthday party, and everyone. We've got quite a big family. So my brother's from South Africa, and then my dad's grandchildren. They all joined it. So suddenly he got it like this, isn't it? Like we wouldn't have done this. Certainly not me telling you the day before. Suits me. But yeah, so I think the world's changed. So yeah, we've been learning how to do it as, teaching with it. We've not done perfectly well, but we've done okay, I think. And so yeah, I think we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it. Well, ideally we'll have face-to-face and record the face-to-face. So, but Andrew, yeah. You've been doing quite a bit of teaching this year, haven't you, Andrew? And also quite a bit of research. So you've had to do both. You've had to go into the lab and also teach remotely. Were you teaching from work or from home?
Mostly from work. I mean, other than in the full lockdown we had last year, and then obviously again in January, February this year, I've been going in to Thornton most days because I've got students working in the chemistry labs. So you've got to be on site to provide supervision. They don't need much supervision, but you've got to be there just in case of need.
Yeah.
I've been going in and doing it, but yeah, I mean, I'd much rather have the face-to-face contact. I think most of the students would. I think this blended learning, as they're calling it, is here to stay.
Yeah, suits the apprentices. We've got quite a few apprentices, and they have to fit the studying part-time around their job, so they like it. They like it. Yeah. Right. Fantastic. I've not got my slides. It doesn't matter. There was something on there that was about the future of chemical engineering. But you guys are the future. You guys are the future. We're just well, I won't include you in this, Andrew, but we're just the geeky ones that have taught you. You go off and do the stuff. And yeah, thank you ever so much. It's great to see you. Thanks for turning up to this. Should we do another one? Should we do another one in a few months?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Right. Let's do it. And the final question is, where are we going now?
Scotland.
Where am I going now? To the pub. Yeah.
Oh.
It's bank holiday weekend. Not quite yet, but you know, I'll be getting there soon.
Well, I'll be having a Scottish drink tonight, so.
Yeah. What, Scotch?
No, I'll be drinking vodka, my usual, but I won't be. I'll be with the Scots, who are a bit more hardcore than people back home. So.
Oh yeah, I'll drink you under the table. Yeah, yeah. So alcohol, just because this is being recorded by corporate communications. Can I do a good disclaimer? You don't have to drink. It's just, but you're allowed to drink, and drink in moderation. Drink safely, guys. Right. Thanks a lot. We'll sign off. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. It was really
Bye.
good.
Guys, lovely weekend.
Cheers,
Ciao.
Joe. Oh yeah, Joe's finished recording. Stop recording. I can stop recording. That's brilliant. Thanks for that, Cameron. It's good to get some student involvement. Appreciate it. Okay, I'll stop recording.